So the coaches poll actually came out 6 days ago, and now next week will be the AP poll. So it's gonna be after 12. So next week on Monday, I will definitely react to that AP poll and talk about it. But for this one, let's get to the coaches poll. Welcome back to Griz Talks Football, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, like I said before, we reacted to the coaches poll, and I'm also going to be talking about a couple of freshmen I'm interested in seeing as far as starters go, or at least ones you haven't recognized, but I will make sure to help you recognize them. As always, I'm the Griz, and let's get straight to it. So here we go. The August 4th coaches poll. The preseason is here. Let's talk about this real quick. Top 4 pretty self-explanatory: Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Texas. I would think on the AP pool it's probably going to be kind of the same thing as last year, except they're going to have Ohio State at 2, Texas at 1. But very understandable that Ohio State, Oregon have gotten better. Georgia has been at the top of the SEC for back-to-back years. Texas getting a lot of preseason hype because of one specific quarterback. And then you go to Notre Dame at 5. Like, I understand, they got CJ Carr, they still got plenty of returning receivers. They also got our first 2 running backs from last year gone. Jeremiah Love is now on the Cardinals, and Jadarius Price is now on the Seahawks. So Nias Williams will be the new workhorse back for Notre Dame. Don't know too much about him yet, but I think they assumed that CJ Carr was gonna at least improve. That's why they had him at 5. But it's very interesting that Notre Dame is ahead of Indiana and Miami, the national championship teams, who are 6 and 7. That's interesting because Miami, I'm very sure, got better. So did Indiana. I mean, I know they understand a Heisman Trophy quarterback could be a #1 overall pick to the Raiders, but they did get another solid QB in Josh Uber. They also got a big-name receiver for Omar Cooper's departure, and Elijah Surratt might be gone too. So it's going to be Charlie Becker and Nick Marsh. As far as Miami goes, I mean, they got those 2 freshman running backs freshman players that are coming back again, Mark Fletcher and Malachi Tony. Then they got transfer from Duke, Darian Mensah to play quarterback. Gonna be very interesting to see Miami play Notre Dame this year. Then, of course, you go to the rest of the top 10. A&M at 8, OU at 9, and Ole Miss at 10. Of course, A&M had Marcel Reed coming back. They just came off one of their best seasons in years, where they ended up making the college football playoff with a 10-2 record. Unfortunately, they did lose in the first round, but still, pretty successful season for A&M standards. Then, of course, Oklahoma turned it around after a 6-7 finish. Venables, he's been on the inconsistent side for a while. He needs to really stop that. But luckily for him, he has John Mateer. He has Livingstone now to throw to. And, Oklahoma might be a very different offense this year. And then, of course, Ole Miss, you got Trijad Chambliss, you got Keywan Lacey back. Couple defenders that were key in Ole Miss's big run definitely left, so that could be an issue. Then we go to the top 15, where we see Alabama in 11. I think part of it was because of the quarterback change. Ty Simpson, of course, was a first-round pick to the LA Rams. And now Alabama and Kalen DeBoer has to decide between Austin Mack and Keelan Russell. Keelan Russell was a freshman from the other season, or it was like 2025 true freshman, and Austin Mack has been a redshirt sophomore. I think he may be one right now. And also for the fact they got embarrassed by Indiana in the Rose Bowl last season. Then you go to Texas Tech at 12. They lost Barry Morton, but they should have had Brendan Slimsby if it wasn't for the gambling situation. Now they got Will Hammond out there. They still got some good running backs. They still got a good defense. They got some pretty good receivers as well. Of course, LSU at 13, of course, poached quite a lot of players. A new head coach in Lane Kiffin, who pretty much led Ole Miss to the playoffs. So they're going to get a lot of hype. But now the question is, will Lane Kiffin's first season be a boom or a bust? Then, of course, you got Lincoln Riley's USC. Jordan Maiev is back, but he did lose Mekhi Levin. Also in the first round of the draft, this one to the Philadelphia Eagles. My problem with Lincoln Riley is that he has a good offense, but his defense is not living up to that. This has been going on for like almost a decade. But now he has some help because TCU fans, do y'all remember Gary Patterson? If you do, he's now USC's defensive coordinator. So that should help the defense a little bit, but that remains to be seen. Overall, a Lincoln Riley defense is trash. Let's see if Gary Patterson changes it. Then, of course, BYU at 15. Bear Bonmeyer, LJ Martin coming back, JoJo Phillips on the receiving end. Got 2 good tight ends, Roger Selapog and Walker Lyons from the Big Ten now. We got Glasgow coming back. I'm very sure Tonavasa is coming back. I was very surprised by that. I thought he was a senior last year, but this is his graduate senior, I think, this year. We also got Ace Kafusi. We got some big transfers at linebacker, including Kato Luave from Cal, Fale Santuala, and Evan Schmev Johnson. Quarterbacks got another year experience. One of the best running backs in the country, let alone the Big 12, is back. And we also got a very solid defense as well. Be prepared for those Cougs in the Big 12. Now moving on to top 20, we got Michigan and Penn State, 16-17 from the Big 10. Even Washington, 19. Starting with Michigan, they just got brand new head coach, Kyle Whittingham. He brought some guys over from Utah. And don't forget, they also got Bryce Underwood at quarterback. Jay Hill, our old defensive coordinator, is now with Whittingham at Michigan. So that defense should be, if not better than what they were last year. Of course, including John Henry Daly going to Michigan. That's a big one. Of course, Penn State. Matt Campbell's Penn State now. James Franklin was fired. Remember, he's at Virginia Tech now. Of course, the Lions pretty much poached the entire Iowa State team. On some of the Big 12 media poll, they are actually projected to be dead last, Iowa State is, in the entire Big 12. As for Penn State, of course, pretty much the entire Iowa State team over there. Rocco Bank, Carson Hansen, all those guys. And even a tight end. And of course, Washington with DeMond Williams, the quarterback. What Jed Fish has been doing over there at Washington is nothing short of quite a miracle. We all thought that they were actually going to fall off. They have not come even close to that yet. Of course, you got Tennessee at 18. Biggest issue will be the quarterback, but I'm sure Josh Heupel has something planned. Of course, SMU returning Kevin Jennings to the squad. Of course, SMU in those first 2 years have been a good ACC contender, and everybody's expected them to be probably the second best team in the conference. 2 straight years that they were in line for an ACC title just came up short. Could the third time be the charm? Now we move on to the bottom 5. Utah 21 with Devin Dampier there, and now they got a new coach in Morgan Scalley. Interested to see how that works out. Kirk Ferentz, Iowa Hawkeyes are on this list at 22. I respect it because as much as their passing offense was terrible, run offense and also their entire defense have been nothing short of pretty good to very good. Of course, now we have a 7-6 Clemson up here, 23. I was under the assumption that maybe that year was a bit of a fluke, that was what he knew what he's doing, but then as I looked at it, I'm not so sure. I think a lot of the media folks over there are confused as well. Same thing with the coaches. We don't know if Clemson's going to be back or if this season was a sign of things to come. I guess we'll find out this year. Then, of course, you got the bottom 2, Houston Cougars and Missouri Tigers. Willie Fritz in Houston. You got Carter Weinman, transfer from Oregon, Mekhi Hughes, reuniting with Fritz. That should be interesting. A couple of other old Tulane players now with a year experience over there now at Houston. Houston Cougars could be a big surprise team in the Big 12. I mean, they shocked a lot of people beating LSU in a bowl game. Who says they can't do the same thing here? And then, of course, you got Missouri Tigers. Ahmad Hardy out there at running back. Unfortunately, no Bro Pribula, but you do now have Austin Simmons. Let's see what Coach Drinkwitz has in store for Mizzou. And that's that. That's the Coach's Top 25. Of course, next week on Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern will be the releasing of the AP poll. And now I'm going to be talking about 3 freshmen, 1 for BYU, 1 from the Big 12, and 1 outside the country that I'm actually very interested in seeing play this year. So the first one from BYU for the committing class in 2026, the guy that I actually think could have a very sneaky good year will be wide receiver Legend Glasgow. If you don't know who Legend Glasgow is, he is actually Isaiah Glasgow's cousin. He is actually 6'2", 175 pounds from Lehigh, Utah, so he is a Utah homegrown prospect. He was a 3-star recruit. He was recruited by quite a bunch of Big 12, maybe Cal, and also Utah State. 3-time All-Region, 2-time All-State MVP at his high school. He was also one of the fastest receivers on the roster. A lot of people can agree he can actually be a very big, impactful player in Kalani Sitake's offense. Legends not starting just yet, because you got guys like Kyler Casper, 6'6", wide now transfer from Oregon, returning JoJo Phillips, returning Togger Bachmeyer. But when he starts to get some playing time, he's going to show everybody that he is a steal. I don't want to say they were starters, but like soon to be starters. That's what I mean. The second guy I have, the one that's in the Big 12, the most likely Big 12 to make a big impact. I'm actually going to go to Orlando, Florida, and UCF. And I think 4-star receiver from Sarasota, Florida, Tyron Horns, wide receiver, will be a big name in the Scott Frost offense over there in Central Florida. Listed on Rivals as the number 14 recruit in Florida and the 19th best receiver in the class. And 24/7 Sports had him as the 22nd best player in Florida and 23rd best receiver in the class. So he definitely has something going on there. He was actually formerly known as Tyron Wortham, but he got his name legally changed. Oh, it also meant he ran track, so he's fast. For Bradenton, Florida, he's 6 foot 175. From what I've seen so far, he has been dominating fall camp with his elite ball skills and pro-ready traits. That was according to the Nice fandom on Reddit. He's still got to get some playing time from senior Josh Derry, senior Dwayne Thomas Jr., who is actually expected to be one of the best offensive players in the Big 12, and even sophomore Wayden Charles. But if he continues to impress the coaches, he might be at best a wide receiver too. At least 24/7 Sports projected him to be a wide receiver too in the Power 4 level. Excited to see Scott Frost's second season in his return back to UCF, and I'm excited to see how Tyron Horns will do with the Knights. And now for the final prospect all across the country, we're going to the Southeast. Or we're staying in the Southeast. Well, not really Southeast, we're going to Texas. The guy who I think could be a huge role in their season is a team that made the playoff last year. And of course, they're in the SEC. Texas A&M's true freshman athlete turned corner, Brandon Arrington. He's 6'2", 201 from San Diego, California. So he's kind of across the country, midway through it. He was ranked 29th by 24/7 or by Rivals and 34th by On3 in recruiting sites. Number 1 and number 2 athlete respectively. He was also a top 5 prospect in the state of California. And this guy also competed at track. So once again, he's a fast guy, but he's also starting for the Aggies. You know how hard that is to do as a freshman to start for an SEC team? I mean, in his spring game, he actually had a very impressive showing. Okay, so he's not starting, he's actually a backup. My bad on that. But for being as talented as he is, he could potentially step into that starting role very, very soon. And I totally didn't even know this, but he actually broke Noah Lyle's San Diego County 200-meter record in high school, who turned into an Olympian. You know, that controversial guy. At 6'2", 201, and with his speed, he could definitely see the field a lot sooner than people will think. This could be a huge season for him in the upcoming years. So anyways, that's all for the freshmen I got. And that will do it for this episode of Grizzly Talks Football. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you give this a big thumbs up, hit the red subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single one of my videos. This is the Griz signing off for now, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace, love, keep the Grizzly vibes we did all times. Take care.